Why would a woman who deeply wants you suddenly start acting distant? Why would she ignore your texts, push you away, or act cold just when things seem to be getting serious? Today, we're breaking this down because what most men don't realize is this. When a woman starts pushing you away, it's not always because she's losing interest. Sometimes it's because she's falling harder than she expected. And instead of getting closer, she retreats. Not because she doesn't want you, but because she's terrified of how much she actually does. Sounds backward, right? But this is one of the most overlooked truths in modern relationships, and it's destroying potentially powerful connections every day. Most men take a woman's distance at face value. She stops calling, so she must not care. She pulls away emotionally, so she must be talking to someone else. But here's the twist. What if her pulling away is actually a sign she's emotionally overwhelmed? Many women, especially those who have been hurt before or secretly struggle with vulnerability, will subconsciously test you when things start. To feel real, they want you close, but their fear tells them to push you away. They crave connection but have been taught to stay guarded. So when they start to really want you, they panic. This is where most men mess up. They chase, they beg, they demand answers. And that energy only confirms her fears that closeness equals pressure and love means losing control. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why women push away the men they secretly want the most, how to recognize the signs, and what to do instead of reacting emotionally. Because if you understand this behavior for what it really is, you'll stop getting caught in confusion and start handling it like a man who knows what he's doing. Now let's get into why she's pulling away. Number 1. She fears losing control. When a woman starts developing real feelings for you, feelings she can't fully explain or manage, something unexpected kicks in. Fear. Not fear of you, but fear of losing control over herself. The moment she realizes you matter more than she expected, her instinct might be to back away. Many women have been conditioned to protect themselves emotionally. They've learned through experience or environment that falling too hard makes them weak. So when they find themselves slipping, thinking about you more, caring what you think, wondering if you'll stay, they panic. Instead of leaning in, they pull back. This has nothing to do with you doing something wrong. Sometimes it happens because you're doing everything right. You're consistent, you make her feel safe, and you show up. But all that stability triggers a fear she's been running from, the fear that she might actually get attached. To her, control is safety. When she starts wanting you more than she expected, it feels like she's handing you the power to hurt her. That's why she distances herself. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's trying to protect herself from caring even more. Maybe you've experienced this. You're texting a woman, things are flowing, conversations are consistent, she seems invested, and then suddenly she slows down. Replies get shorter, responses take hours, or even days. You wonder what happened. You didn't change, you didn't mess up. But she's acting like you don't matter anymore. It's confusing. But if you understand this dynamic, it makes sense. She's not rejecting you. She's trying to regain emotional balance by pulling back. She's scared of how deep it's getting, so she reclaims control by creating distance. Now here's where most men mess it up. They chase, question, her show frustration, and that only proves her fears right, that closeness equals pressure. But a man who understands this will do something different. He won't chase, and he won't flinch. He keeps his cool and holds the same calm energy he had before. That's what makes her feel safe again, because once she sees you're not trying to control her and that you're still solid, even when she pulls away, she'll come back. Not because you chased, but because you didn't. Number 2, too much emotion scares her. Many men think that once a woman has strong feelings, love, desire, emotional attachment, that everything will naturally progress. But here's the tricky part. Sometimes the stronger her feelings grow, the more unstable she becomes inside, not because she doesn't want those feelings, but because they scare her. We often assume women are more emotionally open than men, and on the surface that's true. But underneath, many women actually have less emotional stability than you might expect, especially when emotions get intense and personal. When it's just flirting or surface-level attention, she's in her comfort zone. But the moment she feels something deeper, she loses control. And when she's not in control of what she feels, she worries about how much power you now have over her. Real emotion means vulnerability. It means she's no longer playing a game. She's emotionally invested, which means she can get hurt badly. That kind of emotional risk terrifies some women, especially those who've been through heartbreak, betrayal, or never truly felt safe in a relationship. So instead of embracing the connection, she withdraws. Not because she doesn't feel it, but because she feels it too much. It's a defense mechanism, unconscious. Often she convinces herself she's too busy, or that you're too available, or that something feels off. But really, her emotions are overwhelming and she doesn't trust them. And here's what most men miss. If you respond by getting emotional yourself, anxious, angry, overly concerned, you only make her emotional storm worse. Now, both of you are unstable. What she needs is your steadiness, not your fear. Men who don't understand take it personally and think her pulling back means she never cared. But if you've ever had a woman fully open up, then suddenly become distant, you know this is real. It's not fake or manipulation. It's an inner conflict between what she wants and what she fears. Remember, the more emotion she feels, the calmer you need to be. That calm isn't coldness, it's leadership. It lets her trust her emotions instead of running from them. When you give her a safe space to feel without pressure or panic, she won't fear the emotion. She'll lean into it, and that's when everything shifts. Number 3, she's testing your strength. She pulls away. Not because she's over you, not because she's lost interest, but because she wants to see something deeper than words. She wants to know, can you hold your center when things feel off? Can you remain calm when emotions swirl? Can you keep your power when she stops feeding your ego? See, most guys panic the moment they feel her slipping. They text more, call more, ask questions she's not ready to answer. They try to patch up a vibe that doesn't need fixing. But a stoic man, he doesn't react. He doesn't chase clarity when silence speaks louder. A woman's pullback is rarely random. It's often deliberate, not in a manipulative way, but in a searching way. She's not asking with words, but she's wondering, are you a man I can lean into, or a man who crumbles under pressure? And that pressure, that emotional distance, that's the test. You need to understand something. When she gets quiet, distant, or sends mixed signals, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's an audition. And the role? The man who doesn't need her to feel complete. The man whose peace isn't dependent on her presence. The man whose center rooted, unshaken. That kind of presence, it's rare, and women feel it instantly. The Stoics taught us not to control others, but to control ourselves. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." So when her energy shifts, let your composure be the answer. No drama, no begging, no proving. You don't need to convince her. You need to be. Imagine this. 2 men. One starts texting when she pulls away. He asks what's wrong, tries to talk it out, seeks validation. The other man, he notices the shift but doesn't chase. He gives her space, and in that space, he becomes more valuable. She might scroll through her feed. She might check to see if you've watched her story. She might even post something just to see if you'll bite. But when you don't, when your silence remains steady and your energy remains self-possessed, she feels it, she notices, and most of all, she remembers. Because, here's the truth, the man who stands still when tested becomes unforgettable. You're not punishing her. You're not playing games. You're simply being unmoved by what doesn't deserve your panic. That's not cruelty. That's confidence. So if you're in that moment right now, if she's pulling away, don't collapse. Don't try to fix it. Let your stillness be louder than her doubts. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for presence. And now, it's your turn to speak. Drop it in the comments. I don't chase, I attract. Say it like you mean it. Let her energy come to you. Let the silence do its work. And don't go anywhere, because in the next part, we're about to flip the script completely. You'll see how her detachment starts turning into curiosity and why your emotional distance becomes her obsession. You're just getting started. Stay locked in. Number 4. Her past trauma is in charge. Let's get real for a second. You meet a woman, things click, there's energy, there's laughter, there's late night texting and moments that feel too perfect to be scripted. You start thinking, this could actually go somewhere. And then like clockwork she pulls away. Not dramatically, subtly. Her replies slow down. Her tone changes. She's busy more often. She's there, but she's not present. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't change, but something did. Here's the part that most men don't understand, and even fewer want to admit. Her emotional absence might not be about you at all. She's not pushing you away because of who you are. She's protecting herself from who you remind her of, or worse, from the feeling of being vulnerable again. You're not fighting her logic. You're fighting her trauma. Think about it. How many women have loved and lost, only to rebuild emotional walls taller than the last heartbreak? How many have been let down by a father, manipulated by a past boyfriend, or betrayed by someone who swore they were different? So when a Stoic man enters her life present, steady, emotionally disciplined, her first instinct isn't to melt into trust. It's to test him, to doubt him, to assume the worst, and prepare for disappointment. In Stoicism, there's a lesson Marcus Aurelius wrote that hits hard here. If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no man was ever truly harmed. But here's the twist. Many people, especially those hurt in love, don't want the truth. They want safety without risk. And that's impossible. So when you show up honestly, it's jarring. It forces her to confront emotions she thought she buried. That's why you see the shift. Her silence isn't rejection, it's defense. Her coldness isn't cruelty, it's survival. This is why she flirts with you one day and ghosts you the next. Why she smiles when you compliment her, but stiffens when you get too close. She's not a mystery. You're just reading a language she learned in pain. So what do? You don't take it personal. That's the first rule. You don't crumble under her inconsistency. You remain still, not passive. Still, you don't go chasing her approval or begging for answers she's not ready to give. You stay grounded in your truth and your intention. Because that's the core of Stoic masculinity, not being unaffected, but being unshaken. You understand that the chaos she creates isn't an attack. It's a test. Will you fold? Will you start doubting yourself? Will you lose composure? If you do, she'll confirm her belief. All men become unstable eventually. No. But if you don't, if you stay centered, if you maintain quiet strength, if you neither cling nor flee, you force her to confront a terrifying thought. Maybe this man is real. And that scares her more than losing you. Because now she can't blame your exit on you. Now she has to face her patterns, her past, her part. Here's a real-world example. You're seeing someone, and things are deepening. She starts acting distant. Instead of blowing up her phone or calling her out, you shift. You keep showing up as your best self, but you give her space. You say less. You observe more. She feels that shift and she starts asking herself, why is he not chasing me? That's the moment you flip the script. Her avoidance now turns into inward questioning. Let me leave you with this thought. Her trauma may be in charge of her reactions, but it doesn't have to be in charge of your response. And here's where I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. I hold the frame, not the pain. I know. Let the world know you're not here to fix people, you're here to stay solid. Now stick around, because in the next section, we're talking about what happens when you become a mirror to her mind, when you stop reacting, and suddenly she's the one unraveling. Don't go anywhere. Number 5. Closeness feels like danger. Let's be honest, there's a reason why. Right when things start to feel good, she pulls away. You were vibing. The energy was magnetic. Maybe you were texting every day. Maybe you even opened up a little. She laughed more. She leaned in closer, and for a moment it felt safe, real. But then, she backed off. She became cold, distant, less responsive, and you're left sitting there thinking, what the hell just happened? Here's the truth most men don't see coming. To a woman carrying unhealed wounds, closeness feels like danger. Let me break it down. Closeness isn't just about proximity. It's about emotional risk. It's about being seen without armor. And for someone who's been hurt, betrayed, or left after getting vulnerable, the idea of closeness can feel like stepping onto a battlefield barefoot and blindfolded. You think you're offering warmth. She feels the heat of a fire that once burned her. You think you're creating connection. She sees a replay of a past heartbreak. So instead of leaning in, she pulls away. Not because she doesn't feel something, but because she feels too much. This is where Stoicism becomes your shield, not to block out emotion, but to anchor yourself so deeply that her storm can't shake you. A Stoic man doesn't rush to close the distance, he observes. He understands that intimacy isn't just earned, it's invited, and if she's not ready, it's not your job to drag her across the line. Here's the paradox. The more available you become, the more her fear may rise. Not because she doesn't like you, but because she can't control what closeness might unleash in her. Let me give you an example. You're sitting across from her. It's late. You're having one of those real conversations. No masks, no pretending. She's opening up, just a little. And for a moment her walls come down. Then, days later, she's nowhere to be found. No texts, no calls. It's like you hit a switch. What happened? She let herself feel, and that terrified her. Because if you saw that version of her, the one she keeps hidden, and you left anyway, that would be too much to recover from. So she runs first, before you can. To a Stoic mind, this isn't rejection, it's reflection. And this is where your power lies, not in trying to convince her you're different, but in remaining grounded in who you are. You don't chase, you don't beg. You give space without becoming cold. You remain warm, but never overbearing. Because here's the twist, your restraint becomes the comfort she didn't know she needed. Instead of reacting with confusion or anger, you respond with calm. Instead of pulling her closer, you allow her distance. And in doing that, you show her what safety actually looks like, not the pressure to connect, but the freedom to choose it when she's ready. Let's get even deeper. In Stoicism, there's a powerful idea: we suffer more in imagination than in reality. That's what she's doing, imagining the pain of losing you before it even happens. And her defense mechanism is distance, emotional retreat. But when she sees that your presence is steady, that her pullback doesn't shake your core, that you're not triggered by her push and pull, her fear starts to loosen its grip. Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly. It's not your words that bring her back. It's your energy, your stillness, your refusal to collapse under pressure. You become the opposite of what she expects. And that contrast is what draws her back in. So what should you do? Stay composed, stay kind, stay solid. Don't fill the silence with insecurity. Don't mistake her retreat for a challenge. Just understand what it is: a scared woman trying to protect a heart that's already been shattered. Here's something you can say in the comments below if you're with me on this journey. I stay steady when emotions run wild. Now don't move just yet, because next we're going to talk about what happens when your energy becomes a mirror and she starts confronting parts of herself she's been avoiding for years. Stick with me. The game's just starting to shift. Number 6. She wants reassurance without asking. Here's the unspoken truth most men overlook. Sometimes when a woman pulls back, it's not because she's lost interest, it's because she's quietly hoping you'll pull her back in without her having to ask. It's subtle, it's quiet, but it's real. She may act cold, she may create space, she may even pretend she's fine, but deep down, she's watching, she's listening, she's waiting to see if you care enough to notice the silence and strong enough not to be manipulated by it. This is what makes women complex, not confusing, just emotionally layered. See, many women have been conditioned not to voice what they need, especially when it comes to validation. They fear being seen as needy or too much. So what do instead? They test in silence. They distance themselves slightly. They hold back, hoping you'll lean in just enough to let them feel safe. But here's where it gets tricky. If you chase her too hard, she loses respect. If you ignore her entirely, she spirals in self-doubt. So what do? You remain steady, unshaken, but not unfeeling. Reassurance in this case doesn't mean flooding her phone with texts or writing her a love letter. It means your presence stays consistent. It means your demeanor doesn't shift based on her mood. When she goes quiet, you don't panic. When she gets distant, you don't react emotionally. You respond with calm, not neediness, not detachment, but centering energy. Because what she's really looking for beneath all the masks is a man who isn't afraid of her chaos, a man who doesn't collapse when she becomes unpredictable, a man who makes her feel that her storm won't push him away. In Stoicism, we talk about equanimity, the ability to remain internally undisturbed, regardless of external events. That's what she's secretly drawn to. She might test you, withdraw, delay her replies, act indifferent. But if you keep showing up as the same composed, grounded-mannered, overbearing, not cold, something in her will start to settle. She'll start to feel safe, not because you gave her grand gestures, but because you didn't fold under emotional pressure. Let me give you a real-life example. A guy I worked with had been seeing a woman for a few months. They were close. Then, one week, she pulled back. Less texting, less affection. She said she was just busy. Classic move. He didn't chase. He didn't ignore. He simply said, "Take your time. I'm here when you're ready." Then, he kept living his life. No cold energy, no passive aggression, just calm presence. Within days, she was back. Not because he begged, but because his calm gave her clarity. That's the reassurance she was really craving. She didn't need a speech. She needed to feel his center. And when she did, she realized, this man isn't going anywhere unless I push him away myself. Now some of you might be thinking, isn't that manipulative? It's emotional intelligence. It's reading the energy beneath the words. It's recognizing that women often seek connection before clarity, but they need you to hold the frame when they can't. It's not about fixing her emotions. It's about anchoring yours. So the next time you feel her energy shift, don't jump into panic mode. Don't start questioning your worth. Don't start asking her what's wrong every hour. Instead, remind yourself, she may just want you to stay solid. Because sometimes the reassurance she craves isn't in what you say, it's in what you don't change. Say this in the comments if you understand this silent dynamic. I lead with calm, not with fear. And don't go anywhere just yet. Up next, we'll dive into how her attraction deepens, not when you pursue, but when your silence mirrors her uncertainty and forces her to confront what she truly wants. Keep watching. You're doing this right. Number 7. Your reaction decides everything. Here's the moment most men don't realize they're being watched. It's not when you walk in the room. It's not when you flirt. It's not even when you open up. It's when she pushes your buttons and waits to see how you react. In that pause, in that tension, in that trigger, your entire identity as a man is revealed. You want to know why? Because your reaction is your truth, not your words, not your intentions. The moment things stop going your way, your mask slips and she sees what kind of man you really are. Women don't test men to be cruel. They test because they're looking for someone stronger than their chaos. Someone who can hold the storm, not run from it, not fight it, just contain it. Let me ask you this. When she withdraws emotionally, how do you respond? When she gives you the cold shoulder, do you chase, lash out, or go silent out of spite? Or do you stay calm, clear? Do you stay composed and rooted in your values? Because that's the test. That's the only test that matters. In Stoicism, we talk about control, specifically the difference between what's within your power and what's not. Her moods, not in your control. Her past trauma, not your responsibility. Her mixed signals, not your problem to decode. But your reaction, that's yours. That's the kingdom you must master. When you show a woman that her unpredictable emotions don't unseat your masculine frame, something in her changes. Respect deepens, desire sharpens. She doesn't always understand why, but her body, her heart, and her instincts start to trust you more. It's primal, because when you stay calm in the face of her emotional chaos, it tells her, I am safe with this man. I can unfold around him. I don't have to perform. But most men fail here. They try to win arguments. They try to prove a point. Or worse, they mirror her emotional instability. And that's when everything falls apart. Let me give you a real example. There was a guy who was seeing a woman who'd been through a messy breakup. She liked him, but she was guarded. One night, she got distant, stopped replying to his texts, then sent him a cold message out of nowhere. I think we should slow things down. He had two options: react with panic or respond with poise. He chose the latter. He simply said, I respect how you feel. Let me know if that ever changes. Then he went on with his life. No bitterness, no emotional games, just calm. Guess what happened? 3 days later, she reached out, apologized, said she needed space but didn't expect him to handle it so well. His reaction made her rethink everything. Not because he begged, not because he played games, because he stayed rooted while she wavered. That's the power most men overlook. Not in chasing, not in performing, but in how you respond when the script flips. She's not watching your victories. She's watching your grace under fire. So here's what I want you to remember. She will test you. She will shift. She will withdraw. Not always because she's confused, but because she wants to know if your center is real or fragile. Don't flinch. Don't explain yourself to seek approval. Just be still, be clear, be firm. Say this in the comments to anchor this mindset. I lead with my frame, not with emotion. And don't scroll just yet, because what we're about to explore next is the silent seduction behind stillness. The kind of quiet that doesn't chase her, but makes her chase clarity in you. And that, my friend, is where the real power begins. Stay locked in. Number 8. Her withdrawal is a whisper, not a goodbye. There's something men often misunderstand when a woman pulls away. They think it's the end. They think she's done. They think her silence is a verdict. Final, sealed, decided. But here's what most don't realize. Her withdrawal is not always a goodbye. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, do you even notice I'm drifting? Will you chase me like everyone else? Or more importantly, will you stand still and stay solid while I spiral? You see, in her pullback there's a message. It's not always about leaving you. Sometimes it's about finding herself. Sometimes she's not sure if she deserves what you bring. Sometimes she's afraid that this time, this love, this man might actually be real. And real things? They terrify people who've been let down before. This is where most men blow it. She gets quiet, and they get loud. She goes cold, and they get desperate. She creates space, and they fill it with over-explanation, anxiety, and performance. Wrong move. What she needs in that moment is not pressure, not pursuit, not a promise that you'll never leave. What she needs is your calm detachment. Not apathy, not indifference, just calm. A man rooted in his own values. One who says without words, I don't chase confusion. I respect your process, but I'm not waiting in limbo. That's the power of Stoic presence. You're not rattled by her retreat. You're not triggered by her change in energy. You stand. You wait not for her but for clarity. And if she brings it, you'll meet her there. If she doesn't, you keep walking. Now let's go deeper. Her withdrawal could be emotional. Less talking, less affection, less engagement. Or it could be physical. Slower replies, less interest in meeting up, subtle avoidance. Whatever form it takes, your job isn't to decode every signal like a puzzle. It's to ask yourself a Stoic question. Is this in my control? The answer is no. Her fears, her insecurities, her doubts, they're hers to own. But your response, that's yours to master. And here's the truth. Many women will test their own feelings by pulling back. Why? Because they want to know if what they're feeling is real or just dopamine. They want to see if your presence is worth missing. And they can't feel that if you never give them space to feel your absence. Let that sink in. You can't be missed if you're always available. You can't create emotional impact if your presence is predictable. So when she withdraws, let her. Don't panic, don't perform, don't overpromise. Just breathe, hold frame, live your life, continue your purpose, and understand, this is where the shift happens. If you chase, she loses respect. If you detach with grace, not anger, she leans in. Not always quickly, not always clearly, but internally, she feels the gravity of your stillness. And in time, if her interest is true, she'll return. Not to the same man she left, but to a man who didn't flinch, didn't beg, didn't fold. That's the man she can trust. That's the man who's rare. That's the man who owns his emotions and never lets another person write his story. Here's your moment to step into that. Drop this in the comments to own your path. I let her silence reveal the truth, not break my frame. And keep watching, because in the next part, we're diving into the hidden meaning behind emotional sabotage and how your steady presence makes her question her own patterns. You won't want to miss that. Stay grounded. Number 9. She wants to feel you without you reaching. Here's the paradox most men don't see coming. A woman who's into you, especially one fighting her feelings, doesn't always want you to text first. She doesn't want you to chase. She doesn't even want you to declare anything clearly. What she wants is to feel you without you reaching. Now pause there, because this flips the typical dating script on its head. We're taught to believe that expression equals connection, that if you're not constantly engaging her, she'll forget you. But in reality, constant reach out doesn't make her feel closer. It makes you predictable. And predictability doesn't stir emotion, it soothes it to sleep. Women, especially feminine, emotionally driven women, crave energy, presence, gravity. And they feel it when a man lives in such a way that his silence still echoes in her day. It's not about being cold. It's about being so rooted in your own life, so full in your own frame, that she senses you even when you're not speaking. That's the art. And most men miss it because they try to prove their presence. But here's the truth. The most unforgettable men don't need to prove anything. They let the impact of their absence do the talking. Let's make this real with a situation. She's pulled back. You haven't heard from her in a few days. You could reach out. You could break the silence. You could say, hey, just checking in. Nah. But if she's the kind of woman who needs to feel more than hear, that message will fall flat. Instead, what moves her? A photo you post, without explanation, that shows you're thriving. A story shared publicly that reveals you're still in momentum, not frozen in longing. Or sometimes, nothing at all. Just your distance. Just your peace. And the quiet weight of your energy lingering in her subconscious like a question, why do I still think about him? That question, that tension, that's where her attraction blooms. Because the feminine doesn't want what's handed to her. She wants to lean in, to sense, to search, to feel something she can't fully name. And when you stop reaching, but remain grounded and visible, you give her that space. You give her the mystery. Now here's where Stoicism enters the picture. The Stoic man doesn't detach to manipulate, he detaches because he's centered. He knows his worth doesn't need to be reasserted. He lives his values, walks his path, and allows space for alignment, not validation. She'll feel that, even in silence. She'll notice she checks her phone more. She'll wonder why a song reminds her of you. She'll scroll through old photos or memories you never sent her, but somehow she saved. And she'll begin to feel your presence more in your absence than she ever did in your attention. Because your presence wasn't performance. It was real, and now it's scarce. That's the effect of a man who knows how to step back without disappearing. One who stays on her mind, not because he's chasing, but because he's left a mark that doesn't fade in silence. If that's who you're becoming, the man whose energy is felt, not begged for, then own it in the comments. I stay present even in silence. And stick around, because next, we'll break down the final pattern, what it truly means to become her peace in the chaos, and why that changes everything. Stay sharp, you're not done yet. Number 10. She'll come closer when you stop needing her to. Let's get something straight. Neediness repels. It doesn't matter how good you look, how much potential you have, or even how deep the connection was starting to feel. The moment you need her to respond, to validate, to show up a certain way, you've already lost ground. Women can smell need. It's not what you say. It's what leaks through in the pauses, the timing, the tension in your energy. And here's the paradox that flips the whole game. She gets closer when you stop needing her to. That's right. When you detach from the outcome, when you release her from having to act a certain way to complete you, that's when she starts feeling drawn in again. Because now, the air shifts. Now you're no longer reaching, pulling, waiting. Now she sees a man who is enough, with or without her. And that's magnetic. See, most guys don't realize they're pushing her away. They think showing effort equals showing love. But sometimes, what you're calling effort is actually emotional dependence in disguise. It's texting back too fast. It's over-explaining your intentions. It's worrying too much about how she feels in every moment when she hasn't earned that level of access yet. And when you do that, you rob her of something primal. The chase, the mystery, the desire to come toward you on her own terms. Now don't confuse this with being distant or manipulative. This is about standing in your power. It's about dropping the performance and just being. You're no longer attached to her response because you're rooted in who you are. You've let go of control because you've taken full ownership of your own story. And that's when she starts to notice again. She wonders why you're not reaching, why you're not trying so hard, why you feel different, stronger, still untouchable in a way. It's because you've shifted from chasing connection to becoming the man who naturally attracts it. Now let's go even deeper. Stoicism teaches us to master the one thing within our control, ourselves. To stay calm when things go quiet. To stay grounded when emotions swirl. To embrace the unknown with grace instead of fear. When you embody that, you stop needing her to complete your story. You become whole, and from that wholeness, you can share, not beg. And when she feels that shift, she doesn't feel pressure anymore. She feels space. And in that space, curiosity grows. Désir bloom, because now you're no longer asking her to step toward you. You're simply living in such a way that she wants to. Maybe that looks like her sending that "hey" message out of nowhere. Maybe it's her dropping subtle hints, showing up in places she knows you'll be. Or maybe it's just her energy softening, less guarded, more open, without either of you saying much at all. The truth is simple. When you drop the need, you raise the value. When you let go of chasing, you create the space where she chooses. And that choice, freely made, is 1,000 times more powerful than any forced pursuit. So ask yourself this: are you showing up as a man who needs her to choose you, or as a man who's already chosen himself? Because when you shift into that second mode, she feels it. She leans in, not because you asked, but because you stopped needing to. And that's where the real power lives. If that resonates, speak it below. I don't chase, I attract by being whole. You've made it to the end, and that already sets you apart. Remember, true power isn't in chasing, convincing, or performing. It's in being, in mastering your energy, your emotions, and your presence. The more you lean into stillness, the more they feel your absence. And when you grow in silence, they notice even if they never admit it. If this hit you on a personal level, don't just scroll. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and if you're ready to go even deeper, join the membership for exclusive content and tools that take everything to the next level. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay grounded. I'll see you in the next one.